Welcome to reality, the kind of reality Warren Buffett is already preparing for while the rest of us are playing hopscotch on the edge of a financial cliff. Here's a guy with over $144 billion to his name, and he didn't get there by playing it safe. He's been quietly dumping stocks, Apple, Bank of America, trimming them like dead branches on a burning tree. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't a game of let's shuffle the portfolio. No, this is more like Buffett bolting for the exits while the rest of us sip on our Kool-Aid, admiring our pretty portfolios, clueless about what's actually happening. What does Buffett know that we're pretending not to see? Maybe it's that the stock market, our beloved safety net, is fraying at the seams. Yet here we are clinging to the lies we've been spoon-fed for years. Everything will be fine, the market always recovers, your money is safe in the bank, except, spoiler alert, it's not. We've seen this story before. The inverted yield curve, which has been an eerily reliable indicator of coming recessions, is flashing bright red, just like it did in 1929, right before the Great Depression. And in case you're not sweating yet, this current inversion has been hanging around for over 750 days. The longest in history since, well, 1929, and we all know how that ended, right? But no, let's keep ignoring history, because this time is surely going to be different. Every single time the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates and then pivoted to cut them, the market has crashed. It's a tale as old as time. Raise, pivot, and boom, down comes the market, like clockwork. But hey, let's keep refreshing our portfolios and pretending it's all going to magically rebound. Buffett? He's not buying it. He sees what's coming. He's been selling off stocks faster than the market can crash. And it's not just Buffett. Corporate insiders are sprinting for the exits too, dumping stocks like they're going out of style. Why? Because they know that when the Fed pivots, the market doesn't just dip, it plummets, usually by 30 to 50%. You'd think with all the historical evidence we'd see the writing on the wall, but no, we're too busy daydreaming about the next bull run while the smart money is getting out. And while you're still fixated on your portfolio, let's not forget the growing threat of cyber attacks. Your so-called wealth is just digital numbers on a screen, vulnerable to hackers, ransomware, and other cyber threats. Cybercrime has skyrocketed, and we're seeing hackers target everything from bank accounts to investment portfolios. Even major financial institutions are scrambling to protect their systems, but we're all pretending that somehow our little accounts are safe. The World Economic Forum, WEF, in their infinite wisdom, has already warned us about an inevitable major cyber attack on global financial institutions. Isn't that convenient? It's almost like they're predicting the next big crisis before it even happens. Just like how they called the pandemic, right? So here's a thought. You think maybe, just maybe, this cyber attack could get fabricated or let's say, accelerated to help usher in the shiny new central bank digital currency they've been pushing? Because let's face it, when your digital wealth gets wiped out, wouldn't it be the perfect time to introduce a new currency system that's conveniently under the control of central banks? What a coincidence. Suddenly, after the big, bad cyber attack, we're all left with no choice but to embrace the central bank digital currency, CBDC. But hey, that's just speculation, right? Nothing to see here. Keep trusting the system that's already cracked wide open. Let's start with the brutal truth no one's telling you. When you deposit your money in the bank, you're not storing it, you're loaning it. That fancy monthly statement, it's an IOU, not a guarantee. And when the music stops, guess who decides if you get your money back? Not you, the bank does. But here's the kicker. Those IOU bank statements are a direct product of this financial casino we've been letting run wild. The banks took your deposits, leveraged them to the moon, and gambled like high rollers in Vegas. And now, the bill is coming due, and it's ugly. Banks are sitting on $1.5 trillion of commercial real estate debt, due by the end of next year, and hundreds of billions of dollars of zombie corporation debt are hanging on by a thread, and the banks have over $500 billion of insolvent bonds on their balance sheets. That debt is toxic waste, and guess what? It's leading us straight into a banking crisis of epic proportions. Meanwhile, the corporate insiders, the folks who know exactly how bad things are cashing out faster than a high roller on a winning streak. These aren't minor sell-offs. These are the CEOs, CFOs, and board members, the very people running the show, who are cashing in before the whole thing goes under. And yet here we are, still playing the part of good little investors, trusting the system while they run for the exits. Let's shift gears for a second and talk about inflation, that silent thief robbing you blind while you sleep. The government tells you it's under control, but we both know that's a joke. Anyone who's been to the grocery store lately knows it. Real inflation is over 15% due to food, energy, and insurance and everything else we need to survive on a daily basis, and it's eating away at your savings. This isn't just corporate greed at play. This is too much money chasing too few goods. Every time the Fed fires up those printing presses, your dollars lose more value. But sure, keep believing everything's fine, because that's what they want you to think. Oh, but wait, it gets worse. The job market is next on the chopping block. Layoffs are coming, and here's how it works. When companies cut jobs, people stop spending. When people stop spending, businesses can't sell their products, and so they cut more jobs. It's a vicious cycle, a domino effect of unemployment. And it's only a matter of time before it hits. But hey, we'll just keep pretending everything's going to bounce back, right? And if all that wasn't bad enough, we've got the mainstream media spoon-feeding us their daily dose of feel-good headlines. The economy's booming, inflation's just transitory. Every day they roll out the same talking points from their friends in Washington, and we eat it up. If you hear the same lie enough times, it starts to feel like the truth, right? The media thinks we're so gullible that if they keep repeating it, we'll just keep nodding our heads and sipping our Kool-Aid while everything burns down around us. And while we're distracted by the headlines, the billionaires, they're prepping for the fallout. Ray Dalio, David Einhorn, Jacob Rothschild, they're all piling into gold. Real assets that don't turn into dust when the system crashes. Dalio even said it himself. If you don't own gold, you don't know history or economics. Central banks bought over 1,000 tons of gold in 2023, the most in over 55 years. Foreign governments are dumping US dollars like they're on fire and stacking gold. But sure, let's keep clinging to our paper assets, which are about as solid as a house of cards. The rest of the world has already seen the writing on the wall. Global de-dollarization is in full swing. Countries like China, Russia, and plenty of others are backing away from the US dollar. They're moving on, preparing for the day when the dollar isn't worth the paper they're printed on. And when the dollar goes down, it's going to take a lot of paper wealth with it. Oh, and let's not forget the $35 trillion national debt growing by $1 trillion every 100 days. This isn't sustainable, and when the debt bomb explodes, the entire system will come crashing down. The US government can't keep spending like there's no tomorrow without facing the consequences, and those consequences are looming larger every day. And who's pulling the strings behind all this chaos? The biggest con in the entire financial system. People still think the Fed is some kind of government institution, looking out for the economy and protecting the American public. But here's the dirty little secret. The Fed is a private institution, owned by private banks, whose sole job is to make sure the elite never lose. Every time they print more money, lower interest rates, or rescue the financial system, it's really just about one thing: keeping the good old boys club at the top. They're not here to save you, they're here to prop up the system, which is teetering on the edge. The very same banks that own the Fed are the ones who benefit from every bailout, every rate cut, and every dollar printed. And while we're out here trusting that the Fed has our backs, the insiders and billionaires already know the game. They've cashed out. The Fed doesn't care if the economy crashes because they'll just print more money to save their own. But for the rest of us, inflation eats away at our savings, interest rates make borrowing unbearable, and our dollars lose value every time the Fed decides to step in. So the real question is, how long are we going to keep pretending that this isn't the biggest con game in financial history? It's time to wake up and face the fact that we're all standing on the edge of a financial cliff, while the media sings lullabies about how the economy is thriving. They repeat it so often that most of us actually believe it. But here's the ugly truth. We've been played. They think if they tell us the same lie enough times, we'll keep sipping our Kool-Aid and smiling, even as the ground crumbles beneath us. Meanwhile, corporate insiders, the people who actually know what's happening, are cashing out faster than a gambler hitting a hot streak in Vegas. Warren Buffett, he's already left the casino. And where are the billionaires? Oh, they're not sticking around to find out what happens next. They're retreating to their luxury doomsday bunkers or lounging on their mega yachts, sipping champagne, probably chuckling at the rest of us staring at our digital portfolio statements like they're worth something. Spoiler alert, those digital numbers, they'll disappear faster than you can say market crash. You think your money's safe in the bank? Or your stocks are real wealth? Think again. When the crash comes, and it's coming, you'll be watching your wealth vanish into thin air just like that. Poof. It's all an illusion, folks. Just digital IOUs that'll be gone before you even have time to hit refresh. But here's the best part. While we're clinging to our disappearing digits, The billionaires are laughing from their yachts or hunkered down in their billion-dollar bunkers, surrounded by physical gold coins and bars and everything they need to ride out the storm. They're not sweating the next market report or waiting for the next Federal Reserve fairy tale. They've already made their move. So here's the real question. What's your move? Are you going to keep staring at those disappearing digits, trusting the same people who've been lying to you for years? Or are you going to wake up and start protecting yourself? The billionaires are already gone, Buffett's long gone, and the insiders have cashed out. The financial hurricane is about to hit, and trust me, the only thing left floating will be the billionaires' yachts. Not your portfolio. I know. This is a lot of reality to swallow, and it's about as fun as eating a plate of cold Brussels sprouts. But ignoring it doesn't make it disappear, it just makes you more vulnerable when the financial storm hits. Choosing to stick your head in the sand is like standing in the open as an F5 tornado bears down on you. Reality doesn't care how much you wish it away, it's coming for you. So, let's face it, relying on the hopium your financial advisor is peddling is like taking investment advice from a toddler with a magic 8-ball. It's not just ineffective, it's downright laughable. The market's on the brink, and no amount of wishful thinking will save you. Instead of clinging to digital dreams, consider the real, tangible protection offered by physical gold and silver. Off-grid wealth management has been guiding investors like you through financial storms for over a decade. We offer expert insights on how to protect and preserve your wealth with physical gold and silver. Our team provides no-obligation consultations to help you understand the best strategies for securing your financial future. Don't wait for the storm to hit. Call Off-Grid Wealth Management at 855-453-7587 today. Get the education you need to leave the financial fairy tales behind and make informed decisions for true wealth protection.